What's up, Trad Nation?
This is Breaking Trad.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Breaking Trad. I'm Alan.
And I'm Matt.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Brittany.
And
And I'm Lee.
well, so I guess we'll just go. We'll go right into it. Yeah.
Right.
Look at that big smile on your guys' face. So, all right, our guest today has won several state records in longbow and barebow. He is from Miami, Florida, Mr. Double Entendre himself, Lee Wilkins. Lee, how's it going, man?
It's going good. How y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. So I guess I'll get us kicked off. So recently you attended the NFAA Indoor Nationals and in January you killed it at the 2022 Lancaster Classic. All things that we're going to get into, but first and foremost, tell us how you got started.
Well, you know, it's funny. I didn't own my first bow at all until I was, I guess, 37 years old or so.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those, Robin Hood fantasy things, and everybody watches the movies and likes them. So one year I was walking through Bass Pro Shops and looking at these longbows, and my wife said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, it's a longbow." She said, "What are you going to do with it?" And I said, "I don't know." And so and it was funny because we had just had this discussion about what do you want for Christmas? And I don't get me anything. She goes, "Well, if you want one of those for Christmas, I'll buy it for you. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but I'll buy it." And I said, "Okay." So she bought me this Bear Montana longbow, and I brought it out and I bought a target, and I just started shooting it. And that was it. I shot for a couple of years, and I didn't even know there was a thing called competitive archery. I had no idea. I thought you hunted with it maybe, and then there was the Olympics, and that was pretty much it. So I met a guy online, and a guy named Brian Finder, a friend of mine, and he said, "Hey, you should come up to the Traditional Bow Hunters of Florida up in Ocala. It's this big weekend, and it's a lot of fun." And I said, "Okay."
Oh yeah.
So I took my son up there one year, and had never been there before, and I'm shooting, and I didn't hardly know the rules. I had to follow people. And I go, "What do I do now?" And they're like, "Well, shoot at that." And I said, "Okay." So I did that. And at the end of the first day, they're shooting everybody and scorecards. So I'm trying to find my scorecard. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, "Well, someone picks it up and he goes, 'Oh, you're in group 1. You must have shot really well.' I said, 'What does that mean?' He goes, 'Well, you're in the top group, like the top 5 guys.' And I'm like, 'Really?'
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
And so I wandered over to that target and I shot with them, and I wound up coming in 4th or 5th place or whatever it was. And, everybody's like, 'Hey, how long you been shooting?' And this, and that. I'm like, 'Well, until, yesterday I was shooting in my backyard.' So it was just something I was, pretty good at, took to anyways. I taught it, taught myself, never had a coach or anything, and just kind of enjoyed it and did it for fun.
Right.
And it just started to steamroll from there. I found some online information and started reading stuff, and I read about this 300 round, and I said, well, that seems like a pretty good way to measure your stuff. So I bought some targets and started doing that in my yard, my suburban backyard in Miami, but I can get about 30 yards if I go diagonal. So I hung the target and I looked up the rules and I started shooting, and I'm like, I wonder if that's any good. And the first time I ever shot the round with my longbow and wooden arrows, I shot like a 227 or something like that.
Wow.
And
that's pretty good.
So I didn't know if that was good or bad. I had no idea. And I started reading, and, I'm reading about it, and people are like, "Hey, that's really good." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever you say." And that was it. And then, slowly over a couple of years, you meet people and you go places, and, Miami really is kind of the, it's so far away from everything, and it's totally not rural at all. And there's a lot of people I know don't even know that you can hunt in the state of Florida, even though it's got like millions of acres of public land once you get north of South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So the atmosphere down here is not really conducive to that sort of thing. But slowly I, talked to some people and learned some stuff and started finding out about this whole competition thing, which I love. I love competing, win, lose, or draw. Right. I like to stand up and shoot with other guys. I think it's great.
Well, so that's one thing that we like to ask about too is, so, for me, it was my father-in-law who kind of influenced me or was more my mentor and all. And we all have, a mentor to a certain extent, but like, who can you reference back to in regards to that aspect?
Well, 2 people specifically. One guy Guy named Dana Chatu. Unfortunately, he had a stroke a couple of years ago, and he doesn't shoot anymore. But he lives down in South Florida, and he was he's won the what the heck do you call that thing? The North American Field Archery Championship. He's won that a couple of times. He's been to the national. He was a field archer with a longbow, and so I'd run into him, and he said he was like, "Hey, you're pretty good with that thing." So we started palling around, and he was sort of a mentor to me. And then he introduced me to Calvin Smock.
Oh, yeah.
I met him at Ocala one year, and I started talking to him, and he was the same as like, "Hey, you're pretty good with that thing." And so Calvin and I developed a pretty good friendship, and yeah, it just kind of built from there. It was funny. I saw Calvin, and I watched, I looked at some of his records and stuff, and some of the stuff he's done up north with the IBO and everything, and I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome, and I thought, well, geez, I've shot with that guy. If he can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of went that way, and then I started with barebow in 2015 when I saw Dwayne beat all the compounders in Vegas. I mean, he went up to the opening day. I think he shot a 282 with a barebow recurve, and I was like, what the hell? Are you kidding me? But again, I took the attitude. I'm like, and at that time I had never met Dwayne. I didn't meet him till the next year at the ASA Classic in over at Fort Benning. And I thought, man, if he can do it, I can probably do it. And I just, trying new stuff. I like to chase competition. I want to compete against people that are better than me, which I did a lot of times this year and got beat up by Grayson Partlow. But hey, whatever, it is. It is what it is.
Right.
But that's what I like to do. I like to compete. I like the camaraderie. I like just getting together and a bunch of guys shooting bows and competing on a level playing field. I love that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, anybody? You guys?
So what do you still shoot longbow regularly?
I do.
Like, is it still your Montana, or have you changed it out any?
Oh no. I shot my Montana for a long time and actually won a lot of stuff with it. A funny thing, I bought my kid a 35-pound Samick Sage. And of course, he never shot it. He didn't really take to it. So when I was shooting my Montana, I have a pretty long draw, close to 30 inches. So my Montana weighed at my draw about 58 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know any better. I shot indoor with it. I did whatever with it.
Right.
So I picked up I won these Easton Fat Boy arrows in a local shoot, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them. So I just threw them in the closet. Mm-hmm. And then one day I decided, these would probably shoot okay out of that lightweight Samick Sage I bought my son. So I had this old springy rest. I screwed it in there, and I fletched up one of the arrows, and I went out in the backyard, and I shot it in my little backyard indoor range. And I came in the house, and now my wife, she doesn't really know much about archery, but she knows what the scores sort of mean. And she goes, how did that go? I said, man, I bet you if I fletch these up, I could shoot a 280 with these. And she goes, yeah, okay, whatever. So I that night I fletched the rest of them up, and I went in the house, or, whatever. I came home from work the next day, and I shot a 279. And I went, wow, there's something to this whole recurve light draw weight thing,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And so I started looking at my longbow a little sideways. And so that was when I bought my first bow, my first recurve bow, and it was really cheap. It was funny. I bought this $29 cast aluminum riser from Lancaster with some bolt down limbs that I got from Alt Services across the pond for $30. The most expensive part of that riser, of that whole bow, was my Shibuya plunger.
Yeah.
And the whole bow weighed like it cost like $105 or $108 or something like that. So that was the bow I took to the ASA Classic in Fort Benning in 2016. Uh-huh. And I showed up, and Calvin's like, hey, how you doing? And we were talking, and he's introducing me to everybody, and he was kind of looking sideways at me. He's like, man, you got like that kid bow, and what's going to happen with that? Well, I was 5 points behind Dwayne and 9 behind Bobby Worthington, standing on the podium with him. They all went, holy crap.
Yeah, right. I mean, that just goes to show. It doesn't matter. You can get anything and get out there and do amazing.
That's it.
My first competition bow was a longbow, a Montana, but it was 25 pounds at
28 inches.
28 inches. My draw is probably a little less than that. So,
and we know a guy right now. He blows me away, and he, like the way you talk and the way your mannerisms and things kind of remind me of him. Oh my goodness, I just forgot his name. He brought that 15-pound kid bow out there and was slinging arrows at the Howard Hill.
Oh my gosh, what was his name?
I can't remember. I don't know.
Hitting dingers, man. I'm talking about
he hurt his. Remember, he had shoulder surgery, or he hurt his shoulder, and they told him he couldn't draw back, and so he brought out his kid's bow.
Yeah.
I mean, it works.
Yes, I'll draw something.
Yeah, right.
I've been there and done that.
Shoot. Yeah.
I
I'm here
even
to shoot.
still shoot them. I mean, that I only use 30 pounds for
Right.
mine. My Three Rivers DOS HT21 riser, it's a 30 pound. Like, well, not
Nice.
riser, but the limbs are 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
30
nice.
pound riser. That's pretty heavy.
that would be a little bit much.
No, that sucker feels like 30 pounds after you take it out
Yeah.
on the archery range. You walk 5 miles carrying that thing and it'll feel like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I tell you what, don't let Demmer see it. He might steal that thing. Have you ever seen his bows? They weigh as much as a bicycle. It's ridiculous.
Hey, we're
Yeah.
trying to get in touch with Demmer, so send him our way. What do you say?
I will next time I talk to him. It's funny. I sat and talked to him Sunday, but
Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
all right, Matt.
So in 2018, you won the IBO and Longbow, and again in 2020.
yes,
You were the Longbow champion and the overall men's champion. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. In 2018, I won. 2018 was a really good year. My first year I shot the IBO was 2017, and it was in Twin Oaks over in Tennessee.
Beautiful place.
And I
love that place.
love it. Beautiful place. I wish it wasn't so hot in July. I'd love to get up there for the Tennessee Classic one year.
Oh yeah.
But it was funny that year we had this epic road trip. I drove from Miami to Maine and then across to Tennessee, and
Wow.
we pulled in for that. So that was the first time I'd ever shot the Trad World. So I went there and I shot, and I wound up in 4th place. I did pretty good shooting my longbow, but whatever. It was good. Had a good time.
Mhm.
So the next year it was in Pipestem in
West
2018. So I went there, and by then I was shooting my Omega. I had an Omega longbow. I still have. And that Keegan made me before he got really famous. So the wait time was only about 3 weeks on it, which was nice.
Right.
And I got that, and I was tearing it up. I really was that year. That's the only time I ever beat Dwayne Martin in a head-to-head battle. He decided to shoot longbow that year, and so we went at it, and I wound up winning. And Dwayne came second. I think Dave Wallace came in third. So that was pretty cool. It was the first time I won it. Had a lot of fun doing that.
That was pretty good.
And then in 2020, we were back in Twin Oaks.
Mhm.
And no, were we? I don't even remember where it was. Yeah, it was back in Twin Oaks.
Yeah.
And so I had another new longbow, which is my current longbow that I love. I have a 2-piece timber point, and I tell you what, that's a hell of it. They're expensive, but my God, what a
Worth
bow!
every dime. Yeah.
worth every penny. What a bow!
Right.
So I took that, and that was a really Trevor Fielder had shot some crazy like a 291 on day one or something, some ridiculous score. And I'd shot really well. I mean, I shot like a 281 or 282 or something like that. So we went at it on day 2, and it was really close. And Trevor had a couple of bad targets, and me and Dave Wallace were going head to head, and I wound up winning by 1 point. So that was really cool. And I wanted to shoot a second class, but I didn't have a second bow. So I went to Shayna Sattler. She's a pretty good friend of mine. And I said, hey, Shayna, can you have a bow I can borrow? Does Levy have a bow I can borrow? And she goes, well, I got this 35-pound Bob Lee or 30-pound Bob Lee. And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know, 30-pound. I only got my wooden arrows. I said, well, let me see it. So I took it, and I said, well, this will have to do. I'm going to shoot it. Good, bad, or other, I'm going to shoot it.
Right.
So I run up the hill, and I run into a couple of guys I know from North Florida. And we're on the first target. So I shoot 4 11s in a row.
Ooh. Wow.
And I was like, hey, this bow works pretty good. So I wound up never shot the bow before. The first time I ever shot it was at target 1 on that course. And I wound up shooting a 382 or whatever it was on 40 target. So or 282, whatever it was.
So we've coined a phrase here at Break and Trad. We call all 11s or 12s, however they call it at the event, dingers, right?
Dingers.
Yeah,
okay.
So we consider you the dinger king. So like,
I'm good at dingers.
Yeah, you get you kill it with the 11s. Yeah.
Yeah, I do that a lot, and it's a good thing because it seems to me it's either a dinger or it's not. Usually when it's not, it's not pretty. And so my average is really, really good. If I could just clean up some of my bad shots, I might be dangerous with that thing. I hit the center a lot, which is good.
That's where you want it to be.
Right.
I usually get it in
exactly.
in the back end somehow.
Yep. Because it's funny. I even tournaments that I don't win or don't place so well, I usually have a really high X count, whether it's indoor, whether it's 3D. I have a high center count.
I got
You know, whatever I wind up scoring. So it helps.
You got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right there.
Okay, you pointed down here, and I was like,
I'm sorry, that's on me.
okay. So, do you have any plans to head to World Archery 3-Day Championship and U.S. Team Trials in London, Kentucky this year?
Oh, absolutely. I tried out in 19 and I just narrowly missed qualifying. Which actually, if I had to go to one, I'd rather go to this one because Alberta, Canada didn't look all that interesting, but Tourney, Italy sounds like a pretty interesting place to go. So
Yeah,
my
for
wife is
sure.
my biggest fan because she wants to go to Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm planning to attend this year. I'm going to shoot. I'm not going to shoot longbow because they've changed the rules for the instinctive class. Now they call it trad, and they've modified the rules a little bit so you don't have to mess with your, fix one of the limbs so that it's not adjustable and all that silly nonsense. But traditionally, that class, the old instinctive class, now traditional, is the weakest class in America because it's among American archers because it's not well represented as a class. Like there's no IBO class that matches it. There's no ASA class that matches it. There's no indoor class that matches it in NFAA or anything. So people are either shooting barebow or they're shooting kind of conventional trad. So I looked at that and like in 2019 when we went, I mean, I didn't make the team. Dave Wallace didn't make the team. And, the truth of the matter is that the team overall would have been stronger if Dave and I were on it somewhere, anywhere,
Yeah.
So I looked at that and I, I talked to the guys and I know who's trying out for longbow this year. And I said, man, there's going to be a handful of guys of really, really good archers that just aren't going to go to Italy because they're in a class that's loaded with people. Barebow's that way too. There's a whole bunch of barebow guys. And I remember 19, Chris Spikes, he could have competed in the instinctive class and tore it up. But, he wanted to shoot barebow. So he shot barebow and we got a whole lot of really good barebow 3D shooters. So only 3 of them are going to get to go.
Right.
So looking at that as a team concept, I said, you know what, I'm going to shoot an instinctive class because there's no advantage to longbow, if you can call it an advantage, because the stakes are all set the same for world archery. And I said, man, if you let me do what I do with a recurve bow off of an elevated rest, because you can use a stick on rest in that class, and carbon arrows.
Yeah.
I was shooting in my backyard today when I came home from work, and I haven't even really started tuning my rig, but I had a new riser made just for 3D instinctive archery. If I can plug Ryan Rossing out in Washington, he made me a really nice riser. Okay. And that I had specially made just to shoot 3D, World Archery 3D.
Well, hang on. Let's not leave anybody out. I'm sorry. You cut out a little bit. Who now in Washington?
Ryan Rossing Archery.
Okay, cool.
I reached out to him and asked him about building me a riser and we talked a little bit and he said, sure, I can do that. So I made this really cool, had to make a really cool red, white, and blue Spectraply and black diamond wood riser.
Ooh, yeah.
It's 25 inches long. It's got a little bit of bottom bias. It weighs 3 3/4 pounds naked, and it shoots really, really good. That's
how much I weigh naked too.
Oh, is it really?
Oh my God.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's probably good that this isn't a video call because some things you just don't want to see.
And we're in the room with him.
But I had it. I'm shooting Black Eagle X impacts out of it. They only weigh about 271 grains. And they're a little bit stiff, so I'm going to have to trim them down a little bit. But I ran them through my chronograph today just to get kind of a benchmark on them. And I have a 31-yard point on, and they go through the chrono at about 215.
Wow. 31-yard point on.
Yeah. That's with a high anchor. That's with a 3-under high anchor. I got a 31-yard point on. So I'm going to change that a little bit and modify it to work the trajectory where I want it to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I have a pretty good chance. But it's a pretty nice shooting rig, so I'm looking forward to spending a little time with it.
Well, sweet.
That's awesome. We can't wait to hear how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it.
We wish we could come out there and check it out, but like Alan said, it's the same.
Yeah, you'll be
weekend. Yeah.
Be in 10 out.
Yep.
So.
Well, you gonna make it to the boot camp this year?
No, I'm not. I really would like to, and I was talking to Trevor and Fawn and Dwayne about it, and I really, really, really want to go, but taking time off from work and having to travel in June. And I already took a bunch of days off. My boss been looking at me sideways ever since the holidays. So I said, hey, I'm taking a few days off in January. Hey, I'm taking a few days off in February because I flew up to Virginia to shoot the U.S. National Indoor.
Right.
And then, of course, I was just in Louisville this past weekend. I said, I'm taking some more time off. So he said, are you going to be here for a while? I said, yeah. After that, I'll be here for a while. And so, it's just one of those things, Yeah. So I can't make it.
Well, we're going. We're just trying to get a head count on everybody who we actually going to get to meet and shake hands with and everything.
Yeah, I'd love to go. It was a last minute decision. I had to sit down with my wife yesterday, and we got back from Louisville, and she said, so are we going to go? And looking at airfare and time off from work and what I would have to do. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to happen.
Probably going to have to hang out. Yeah.
Unfortunate, but I'd love to.
Yeah, no worries. No, I mean, I'm sure that everybody understands, but I was hoping we could see you guys up there. I know there's a few that we're going to be able to.
What I know.
Well, things change, so I might make a mystery appearance. I mean, the registration doesn't close till the 15th, and Fawn's been after me to go up there. She's a pretty good friend of mine, so she can be persuasive. So
as I say, I'm sure.
we'll see. I might go. I mean, it's not looking like it, but anything could happen. I'd love to make it, so I'm gonna try if I can.
What about the IBO this year? Are you gonna go up to Popstem? You think you're?
I'm planning on doing I'm planning on doing the IBO too. So,
sweet.
If I was gonna say if I don't make the team, but I don't think I'm not gonna make the team. So
yeah,
there you go.
Either way, I'm gonna go because if I don't make the team, I'll have plenty of vacation time left. And so I'll go. And if I do make the team, I want to use it as a practice session anyway. So one way or another, I'm gonna make it to pipe stem. And honestly, I like shooting at pipe stem. I like the terrain. I'd much rather spend time at Twin Oaks because I love the club there.
Yeah.
But the weather's so much nicer at pipe stem.
See, we've never been.
It's been cool every year. It's nice. The weather, it's not brutal, bottom of the world hot. So
we're planning.
So that's pretty nice. And the courses are nice. The courses are really nice. The park is not as intimate, I guess, as Twin Oaks because it is a state park. But it's beautiful. I mean, there's deer running everywhere. The last couple of years I was there, we had like deer walking through target lanes, and you have to kind of clear them, shoo them out of the way, and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So it's kind of, so it's kind of a cool, kind of a cool place to go.
Well, so if we don't see you at the boot camp, then we'll definitely see you in West Virginia because we plan on being there too.
Got our
yes, sir.
He's pointing at me. I guess it's my turn to ask a question. I was listening. I'm not paying attention.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. So tell us about nationals. How did you do there? Like
I did pretty good. I decided to shoot in men's traditional. Because I don't string walk. So I touch the knock. I don't use, I have a really bare bones WF-27, a CD riser, and and I touched the knock. So it's kind of a trad thing. And I had made the decision earlier this year because I was going to the nationals in 2020. And then of course they all got canceled because of COVID nonsense. So my plan was to shoot men's traditional. And so this year I had the same plan. And then of course, Lancaster happened and everybody's like, are you going to shoot barebow? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm going to shoot trad because that's what I was planning on doing. So anyways, that's what I did. And, but I was up there Thursday because I was one of the top 8 for the U.S. Nationals. I qualified in 5th in Virginia for the U.S. National Indoor. So I was there on Thursday, and that was cool. We did the shoot down. I wound up in 4th place. I beat Rick Stonebreaker in the first heat. And then I ran into Grayson again for like the 3rd time in 5 years. And he's 30, 29, 30. I'm like, all right, I quit. Jesus Christ, like mercy, please. So, and then I had a head-to-head with Fawn for the bronze medal match. And, she got the better of me there, but I wound up in 4th, which is pretty good. I mean, I guess, 4th in the country is okay. I'm pretty happy with it. So I had a good time doing that. And then, Saturday, Sunday shooting the NFAA. I was in the trad class and shot against Bobby Worthington, and which he's pretty epic when it comes to shooting a bow at a dot. So he was 4 points ahead of me on Saturday, and neither one of us shot particularly well on Sunday. I mean, we did okay, I guess, by regular standards, but I didn't shoot as well as I could, and I know Bobby didn't either. But we were head to head. We spent about half of the round tied with each other. just going back and forth. So he wound up winning by 2 points. I made up a couple, and I came in second. So again, hard to be disappointed with that. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I've ever been to the NFA Nationals. So Louisville's a cool town, stayed right there, walking distance, drank a lot of bourbon, shot a lot of arrows.
Right?
My man, that's what I'm talking about.
Sounds like a good time.
Life is good,
Right.
Wearing that WF jersey, yeah?
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Rocking that WF jersey. I
Absolutely.
I stalked you a little bit on Facebook before the show. Of course, that's kind of my job or whatever. But
right.
I don't know about stalking. But
I mean,
looking for info.
There's
maybe.
a fine line there.
Yeah, I know. Well, I always get to that line, then I got to back up a little bit.
It sounds like he needs to keep his mini blinds closed.
You were a little late coming home from work. Did you go to Miami today?
So,
hey, if you have a podcast, it's not stalking.
Right.
We were at the beach this weekend. We just never told anybody how
We
far
were
down
running
south we went.
Yeah. So did well in nationals, came in second, yeah, and then killed it in January at the Classic. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so you qualified in seventh, right? Seventh place, and then when it kicked off, it was you and Mullis.
Actually, I qualified. My overall quali was in 9th place, and then at the end of the elimination rounds, there was a couple of alterations, and I wound up seeded 7th in the finals.
Okay, all right. So 7th in the finals, and then it was when on the podium, it was you and Mullis, right?
Yes.
All right. So with you being up there, what was you thinking, man?
Well, it's funny. I was at this. Brief segue. I was at this work thing a couple of years ago, and they said, "Hey, if you had a superpower, what would it be?" And when it comes to archery, my superpower is that I have nerves of steel. I don't care who's watching. I don't care how many lights are on. I don't care if there's camera. It doesn't matter to me. It just doesn't. I've never had stage fright of any sort ever. So I was just kind of loose and waiting to go out there. And it was funny because I didn't have an archery ambassador to get arrows and stuff. And the Lancaster guy was like, "Hey, do you got anybody?" And I said, "No." Right. And my wife didn't come this year, so she wasn't with me. And they said, "Well, do you have any friends you could ask?" And I said, "All my friends are standing in this room. Everybody I know well enough to come ask me. They're either shooting up here or someone's helping them shoot up here. So, whatever." Right. And so Santo Armano stepped up and he's like, "Hey, I'll get in your coach's box and stuff." And I said, "Okay." So we went out and I was fine. Jared was a mess. I had to tell him at one point I think after the first end, I'm like, "Jared, are you all right?" And he's like, "Man." And I said, "Relax, dude." Cause he was bouncing all over the place. He was pretty nervous. Right. And that actually worked out for me because I wasn't nervous, but it does take some getting used to. Those people don't appreciate how difficult it is to stand on those platforms and shoot, even if you have good nerves. Cause there's a video screen of you above your target. So it's like looking in a mirror when you're shooting, which is really strange. So the camera is in front of you on the floor, zooming back and forth, getting different angles. Right. Yeah. There's weird blue lights. All this crazy nonsense is going on.
And it's got to bring a whole nother level with the podium. I mean, that's why I asked, because me personally, I'm solid in the woods. Well, I wouldn't say I'm solid. I'm decent in the woods. Yeah. Me and the crew, we're slinging arrows, whatever.
Right.
Shooting.
We'll accept solid.
Yeah. Okay. and then even in the like shoot down or this past did the top 16 in the Hunters Challenge at the IBO in Tennessee. Like I get up there and I lose it. I lose my mind. Like I can't figure it out. So in my head I'm like, well, I'm just out here in front of 100 people, maybe 75 people at the most or at the least. And then they've got like eyes all over the world watching them up on this podium. And I'm thinking they have got to be losing their mind. Like I wish I had the superpower of nerves of steel. It might help me out.
Yep. I tell you, it's just one of those things that has never bothered me. And I'm lucky for it because I tell you, if there was ever a time it would bother me, that would have been the time. And it was tough, but I was pretty fortunate that Jared was having a hard time with it because by the time that round was over, I had kind of figured out the light and I learned to kind of ignore the camera and stuff. And it was just shooting at that point. Right. So I kind of slowly built it was really cool. It was, it went really, really well. And I didn't realize till afterwards. I made the comment when I was shooting against Dwayne, about 72 arrows to get to the top.
Yeah.
And, when it was all said and done, I was looking at the video and I was like, wow, I stood up there for over an hour and shot arrows.
Yeah, it was a while.
Yeah,
and I'm like, man, I shot an entire indoor round.
so that's what that was something else I was wanting to talk about. So it was Donahoe, right? Or Donahue?
Yeah, Donahue, Paul Donahue.
Donahue. Yeah. It was on me. So, and Patterson, and then Davis, and then Kristofsky. And I was like, and you even made the comment, you was like 60 arrows in, and they called Dwayne. And you're on fire, slinging dingers. So like physically, was it a physical thing at that point?
It was a combination of both. It was a little bit physical and a little bit mental. And the physical part mostly was because, I mean, I can shoot 60 arrows, anytime. But, if you think of a typical indoor round, I mean, I just shot, a couple of them this weekend. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they take 3 hours to shoot 60 arrows because you got 2 shooting lines and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But when you do it in an hour, I mean, that's kind of a rapid pace for shooting arrows. Mm-hmm. So that started to work on me. But more than anything, it was mental fatigue. I mean, moving back and forth and shooting arrows and just trying to concentrate on maintaining focus throughout that whole adventure was tough. I mean, the first, Jared was kind of a whirl. I didn't even know what happened. I didn't even think I won that round. I honestly didn't. I looked at him. I don't know if you watched the video. I was talking to him afterwards and he looked and he's like, yeah. And I was like, I won? Really? Okay. So, but once that happened, I was kind of on cruise control and it was good. And then right about the time I was shooting against Ed, I was like, man, you're starting to feel every shot and it's not smooth and it's not fluid. And it's just, things are starting to kind of get shaky and fall apart.
So,
and it was part mental and part physical.
I got you. So that was the thing, like, Zernsak, he kept saying, you just increasingly kept getting better as you progressed. And then like when, once you got up there with Dwayne, his first shot was a 9. Yeah. And then I noticed too, like there was a 4-point game at the bottom of the first set. And then a 6-point game. Like was you trying to make it up there? Like what? I
was trying to make it up, but you know what? I was doing flyby shooting because I was trying to bring my bow up and, my riser's fairly heavy and I was getting mentally and physically fatigued. And so I wasn't able to get up and hold on the spot and just let it go. So I was kind of doing some flyby shooting and trying to time it right. I had a few good shots, but it was just, it was tough. And then once I got behind after the second set, especially, I'm like, okay, great. I'm only down 6 points to Dwayne and there's 2 sets left. Oh, this is easy. Nothing. Got this,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you walked away with a hefty little purse as far as I would be concerned. And then, I mean, you progressed something fierce. I guess you went and bought some more bow gear.
I don't know what I did with that. No, I have, trust me, I have plenty of bow gear. Oh no, you're right though. I did. I bought 2 sets of Uka limbs.
There you go.
But other than that, now I just, just kind of move forward with it. It was, it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. I mean, every year, the very first year I went to Lancaster was, I guess, this was my 5th year, I think. 5th year. So I guess 17 maybe was first year I went. Mm-hmm. And every year I've made the cut. I've done really well. The first year I went, the cut was only 32 and I qualified in like 12th or something. That was with the ugly bow that I brought to the ASA.
So in 20 go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, so, and I it was funny. I got to the first round of eliminations and I won it pretty easily, pretty handily. Mm-hmm. And second round I go up and I'm, the bracket, I had to shoot against Grayson Partlow and he sat me down pretty quick. So then the next year, same thing happened. I qualified in, I don't know, 14th or 13th or something like that, did real well. And they'd expanded the cut. So I won my first round pretty handily. And I wind up in my bracket put me against Michael Fisher, who didn't shoot anything in the red during the finals, by the way. I don't know if anyone paid attention to that. He didn't shoot anything but 9 and 10 for the entire finals. So he sat me down pretty quickly and, no shame in that. And then last year, the year, we didn't do it in 21, but in 2020, I made it to all the way to the 3rd round and I lost a tiebreaker to Jeff Roy. And he had 111 more than I did. So I just narrowly missed making it to the finals. So this was actually the first year I made it to the finals. I've been trying. It's hard. It's a really, really hard tournament to win. It's hard to make it to the finals because there's a lot of luck involved in the way the brackets fall. So not only you got to be a pretty good shooter, you got to get in a pretty good bracket. And if you do, then it can all work out if you keep shooting. So it's really tough to win.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're at time, but we do have one more question we wanted to ask. So is there any advice you would give a new shooter that's just getting started in shooting archery?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of pieces of advice. Number one, with your gear, don't get overzealous with your gear. Any gear that is made by any reasonable manufacturer, regardless of what it costs, if it's straight, it'll shoot better than you. Focus on your form and focus on your shot. Find a coach if you can get one, a decent coach, because it'll help a lot. I didn't have one, but I know it'll help. But they really need to focus on your shooting and not on your gear, because you can't buy points ever. It doesn't work that way. Right. And from a functional standpoint, Dwayne Martin told me this many, many years ago. Well, 5 years ago, whatever, 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. He said, if you can keep your bow arm steady, you can get away with a whole lot else if you can keep it steady all the way through the shot.
Gotcha.
And he is right. Don't
be hunting the arrow on the flight.
Nope.
Keep it steady. Well,
if you can keep it out there, you're good.
I got you. Well, so I guess like Matt said, we're at time. So, man, it was great having you on. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, I enjoyed it. It's fun. A lot of fun.
It was awesome talking to you. I love that you could your progression of bows, but you still just pick up one and kill it with it, all classes. I'm completely blown away.
I think she's a little jealous.
I am, because if I try to swap from my longbow to a recurve and then even to my primitive style, it throws me for a loop.
It's a whole transition period. Well, all right. Thanks, Lee. Again, I really appreciate it, man.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye, Lee.
Bye.
All right, everybody. It is the time where we are going to do the shoots, but I also wanted to mention that hopefully it didn't seem like we were trying to rush Lee off or cut him short. We're just under some severe weather and it's getting very close, so we need to wrap up, make sure we all get somewhere safe that's not in our shed. So sorry, Lee. We definitely enjoyed talking to you. It was awesome information. If y'all have not watched the Lancaster 2022, you need to go watch it, especially they have it on YouTube and it's divided into sections, so you can go straight to that barebow section and watch Lee kick butt. So but I'll go ahead and start. I do want to mention that the last day to sign up for the 2022 USA Single String Archery Boot Camp is April 15th. It will be held April 22nd through the 24th at Clinton County Farmers and Sportsmen's Association in Wilmington, Ohio. You don't want to miss out on this. They have several mentors lined up, including Dwayne Martin, Fawn Gerard, both of which have just had on the podcast. So make sure you go back and listen to their episodes. It's going to be a great opportunity to learn from some very talented individuals. It's like a once in a lifetime type opportunity. And all that money is going to go to our U.S. archery team.
All right. I guess that's going to bring us to the first shoot for this episode, which is going to be April 8th through the 10th. It's the Reinhardt 100 in Augusta at Augusta Archers in Staunton, Virginia.
Then we have April 9th and through the 10th, BHA Central Zone Trail Shoot at Tuscaloosa County Bow Hunters. Make sure you're following the BHA Facebook page. They will post all the info for these shoots, as well as having links for each club's Facebook pages and websites.
All right. Then April 9th and 10th is the Cooley Archers Traditional 3D Archery event held in Holman, Wisconsin.
Holman, Wisconsin. All right. Then we have the Alabama Society of Traditional Bowmen. The Children's Hospital Benefit Shoot will be April 9th and 10th. Live auction on Saturday, so bring cash and anything you'd like to donate. All proceeds go directly to Children's Hospital of Alabama.
And then April 23rd is the Buck Hollow Open Shoot. It's going to be on that Saturday only at Old Sylvia Road in Dixon, Tennessee.
All right. Moving on. Reinhardt 100 at the farm, April 29th through May 1st. That is going to be in New Albany, Indiana.
And then we've got Tennessee Classic at Twin Oaks Bow Hunters, April 29th through May 1st. That is located at 1079 Ashley Road in Chapmansboro, Tennessee.
We have the Alma Rod and Gun Club 3D Traditional Only Shoot, April 30th through May 1st. Location is going to be in Alma, Wisconsin.
And then May 7th, BHA of Jefferson County will be hosting an ASA qualifier at Cornerstone Ranch in Mount Olive, Alabama.
If anybody has any shoots coming up for May and June, please be sure to send those to us over Facebook or our email, breakingtradpodcast at gmail.com. I want to make sure we get as many of them out there so we can get people out to your shoots.
We're recording?
Yes.
Okay. So that was fun, man. Lee's an awesome guy. I really enjoyed that. And you know, so we say it all the time, every time. Like we've never met Lee face to face,
I have not, but
and I've spoken to
forward to
him
it.
one time. Yeah, looking forward to it.
And Euphoria is on HBO Max.
Would you look at that there? Hey, yeah. So I had a little
HDM1.
technical difficulties earlier. My computer.
Are you
died,
trying to put your
And here we go.
are you trying to put your computer on? Here, let's try this.
You got to plug it up too.
Oh, got to plug that thing in, huh? You don't
You
say.
do.
So maybe I don't have to go to HDMI. So are we still recording?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, is that the BT banner?
There you go.
Kinda.
Here, let's fix that.
Sorta-ish. There you
Yeah.
go.
And we're back.
So we're gonna keep that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna keep all that. All right.
Even the singing at the beginning.
I don't know. For some reason, Led Zeppelin was going through my head. I don't know.
It's not a bad thing.
So Amanda was saying that, you know, as far as Lee's shooting, picking up whatever he wants to and be able to shoot.
Oh, yeah. That's just like super awesome.
Yeah.
But it also shows like you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on your setup. You can get out there and kick tail with $100 bow.
Yep,
Right.
like me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a $100 bow, and look what I do.
Yeah. You're,
Or like me.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
look at Brittany
Look at
shooting.
this. This
She
is insane.
This is
She
how you
shoots
shoot.
her underarm.
Sponsored by
Yeah.
Under Armour.
Right.
By
Not
the
quite-
way, if you're
You know.
looking for somebody to sponsor,
So what that means is that you got to keep your elbow in the unlocked position. If you lock your elbow, you will catch it.
Well, most of us, again, most
Shut
of
up,
us
Alan.
catch it down here.
No, his literal, like his words were, how in the world did she hit herself up under her arm like that? And I said, that's like her forearm. Like,
Oh.
Brittany's arm is half the size of ours. So where ours would be right
Legit.
here,
Hold- let's see.
she hit right here.
What?
It would
So,
be,
it would be like you right here.
yeah. It would be,
yeah, normal spot for a
Yeah.
normal human
Yeah.
being.
But you're like a solid like foot and some inches taller than me. So
Yeah, but I'm not, and I still get hit right there.
well, you know, I do too sometimes.
Okay. Wait, you sit.
simmer down.
I don't even know what's going on now. So-
She's holding a sharp object.
But so I guess that's it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
as unfortunate as it has to be, we are done with this episode. So whose turn is it? Oh, wait. Never mind. Whose turn is it?
It's your turn.
It's my
It's yours.
turn.
Mhm.
All right, Matt, roll that outro. Guys, we're glad you could join us for this week's episode of Breaking Trad. We hope you had as much fun as we did.
You can catch the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
You can contact us at breakingtradpodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook at breakingtradal and on Instagram at breaking_trad. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel.
Remember to subscribe and follow us. That way you'll get notifications every time we drop a new episode.
Join us next week, and remember,
Make every shot count.